Hi everyone, good night, Shabbos. It's beautiful, very special Shabbos, Parshas Lech Lecha. Shabbos Shev Brachos for our daughter Rina and new son-in-law Ephraim. It's Shabbos that we're going into Shabbos filled with such unbelievable simha, such an elation. You know, it's an amazing. It was a chasna, really, all the people that we love and that we appreciate. Unfortunately, were many of those people were not able to be at the chasna. People were watching all over the world. People were in different places, but not with us. We didn't feel the energy of the people. So, you know, on some level, people have been talking about weddings, these Corona weddings. A lot of people wearing masks. There was a lot of social distancing. There were people that were uncomfortable because we were dancing and whatever. It was just, it had its own stuff to deal with. And people have been saying that Corona weddings, maybe it's a Kodesh Baruch Hu's way of saying to us that he doesn't like the way that we do weddings. He doesn't like the way that we have so many people that we have. You know, we spend money on so much people, and we go to the ends of the world to spend money and to make it so elaborate and beautiful. And maybe he doesn't really love that. You know, he certainly doesn't need another thing from the smorgasbord. It could very well be that a Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't love the gashmios, the material side of the wedding, but why wouldn't he love a wedding? Why wouldn't he love to see 500 Jews gathered together celebrating the beginning of a new life, the beginning of a new couple, of a new home? Why wouldn't he love to see simcha and klal yisrael, to see people caring about other people? Why wouldn't he love that? Why would he want to take that away from us on any level? So I was thinking that maybe that Kodesh Baruch Hu is not doing that. He's not mad at us. He's not trying to take that away from us. What he's trying to say is, I'm going to give you another incredible way to celebrate the simcha. See, because when you made simchas, you made them inside of one building, inside of one room, and the simcha was contained. It was saturated inside of that one room. But now, concentrated in there. Now, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I want to take that simcha, I'm going to spread that around the world. And you can have a pocket of people in Australia, and people in South Africa, and you can have people in America, and people in Eretz Yisrael, people in Yerushalayim, people in Modi'in, people in Ramat Beit Shemesh, and you can have them all over the place. And your simcha now is not going to be contained in one place. Your simcha is going to be spread over the entire world, saturating the world. And really, now it's available for people that would never have come to the wedding, that would never have been able to participate in this. And now this simcha is available to them also. And it can be mashpia. It can have an effect and an influence. It can have an uplifting and a bringing up of a person. Incredible thing. We got a call from somebody in Eretz Yisrael, 1:30 in the morning. The person says, I never expected it. The person says, I hear him, he turns on the music and he says, we're dancing with you. Another old friend of ours, Noam, right, who was in Modi'in. He and my son are making l'chaim's 1:30 in the morning. It's spread. The simcha's all over the world. And maybe that's what the Kodesh Baruch Hu is showing us, that don't keep this contained. It's too precious. Take it and bring it out to the world. And you know, I'll tell you, it really fits so beautifully with this week's Parsha. It's Parshas Lech Lecha. God says to Avraham Avinu, he takes him outside and he promises him that he's going to have children. Avraham Avinu complained he has no children. He says, don't worry, you're going to have children. He shows him the stars. And he tells Avraham Avinu, takes him outside and he says, count the stars if you can. Ko yazaracha, he promises him, that's the way your children are going to be. And we understand that means that your children are going to be numerous like stars. We're compared to stars, we're compared to sand. You have to wonder why God had to take Avraham Avinu outside and say to Avraham Avinu as he took him outside, Ko yazaracha, this is the way your children are going to be. What was the exact promise? What do you mean this? Like the stars, like the outside, like the going outside? What was the promise that Avraham Avinu, that God was making to Avraham? So Meir Shapiro says an amazing thing. He says that when God told Avraham Avinu to go outside and to count, what he told Avraham Avinu was to do something impossible. It's impossible. As Brian Keeney will tell you, you can't count the stars. They're too numerous. They're too vast, and they're in different galaxies. There's no way to count the stars. But Avraham Avinu started to count because God told him to count. Avraham Avinu attempted to do the impossible, to do something that was not shaykh, was not possible to do. But because he had the backing of God, because Avraham Avinu had his own sense of integrity, he said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make an attempt. As our rabbi said many generations later, Lo alecha al malacha ligmar. You don't have to finish the task, but you don't have the rights to be mevatel from it. You don't have the rights to hold back from it, to desist from doing what you need to do. You need to make an attempt to do the impossible. You need to be able to push the envelope up until its very edge. That's your job. And when Avraham Avinu did that, when God took him outside to do that, God turns to Avraham Avinu and says, Ko Yazaracha, that's the way your kids are going to be. Your kids are going to be people who are going to know no boundaries. Who are going to know who are not going to be able to contain themselves, who are not going to be lazy, who are going to push themselves beyond their limitations and are going to be able to accomplish incredible things because they know how to push, because they know how to dream, they know how to reach, they know how to climb. Ko Yazaracha. That's the way your kids are going to be. But I think implied in those words, Ko Yazaracha, this is the way your kids are going to be, God was making another bracha and giving another nature to the Jewish people, another aspect of the nature of the Jewish people. There's an incredible discussion in the Talmud about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. And the Talmud talks about his students and how great of a Torah scholar he was, how amazing he was. And then it talks about the Torah that he knew. And it says basically he knew everything. But it lists all the different things that he knew. And it says that he even knew the abayos, the questions that were going to be asked by Abai and Rava. Abai and Rava didn't live for generations later after Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Nevertheless, he said they're going to know the abayos, they're going to understand the questions that are going to be asked by Abai and Rava. What are the questions of Abai and Rava? First of all, Abai and Rava argued about everything in the Torah. So what did it mean that they knew that? And if they were good questions, then of course they would know those questions. It's not really a chiddush. They would know those questions. Anybody knows those questions. They just happen to be verbalized later by Abai and Rava. Why is that a characterization of a great, vast, and beautiful knowledge of Torah? So what were the abayos of Abai and Rava? What were the questions of Abai and Rava? So the question of Abai and Rava, so Rabbi had wondered the arguments between Abai and Rava. So the Talmud says that Rabbi once came into the Beis Medrash and he saw young Abai and Rava sitting and learning. And he says to them, to whom do we make a bracha? He says, to God. He says, where is God? So Rava points right up to the ceiling. Abaya dramatically goes outside, points up to the stars, to the heavens, and he says, that's where God is. What were they arguing about? One of them just sits in his chair and he points up, and the other one goes outside and points up. They're both pointing up. They're both saying God is upwards, is heavenward. So what were they arguing about? What was the real machlekes there? Their machlekes, their argument was something that was really so fundamental and something that reached back from the very beginning of time. Their machlekes was, how and what is our responsibility to the world? Is our responsibility to sit in one place, be as strong as we possibly can be, and hope that that light is going to emanate out to the rest of the world? Or do we need to take that show on the road? Do we need to take our love? Do we need to take our energy? Do we need to take our excitement, enthusiasm, and bring that out into the world? Abaya, Rava, is sitting there, and he says, where is God? God's right here. Points up. It's right here. It's in our Beis Medrash, it's in our minds, it's in our hearts. It's here, and we have to strengthen ourselves. Abaya goes outside and he says, yeah, God needs to be here, but then we need to eventually take this and bring this show on the road. We need to bring this show outside. We need to bring it out to the world. And that was who Avraham Avinu was. Avraham Avinu, for a period of time in his life when he was young, was focused on himself and his own understanding of God. But once he got that, he brought that out into the world. And God took him outside. But he took him out, hachutza, took him outside because he wanted to show him that this is the way, ko yazaracha, this is the way your kids are going to be. Your kids are going to understand this, that they can't just sit in one place, that they have to take that show on the road. They have to bring that out into the world because what you have is inspiring and beautiful. And it has to be brought outside, ko yazaracha. This is the promise that God gave to Avraham. When God says those words to Avraham Avinu, he tells him, you're going to be as numerous as the stars. You're going to be an incredible amount of people. However, you need to know, A, you will be boundless. You will be pushed beyond your boundaries. No matter where you are, no matter what your boundaries are, you will have the ability and desire to push beyond them. And when you push beyond them, ko yazaracha, you're going to affect the rest of the world. When you take that show on the road, when you step outside, then you're going to have an incredible effect on people. And I feel that that's the message, the legacy of Avraham Avinu, of those words, simple words, ko yazaracha, this is the way your children are going to be. Your children are going to feel a sense of achrayus to the world, a sense of responsibility. They are going to know no personal boundaries. They're going to push themselves beyond their limitations. They will have untold amount of energy and amount of desire to be able to reach out to the world. And when your children do that, that will have an incredible effect uplifting the world. That's the message of Parshas. That was the message that I got from this chasna, was that we just, you're faced with this incredible challenge. What am I going to do? People are not going to come. We have to masks and social distance. And what are we going to do? How are we going to make this a chasna? How are we going to make this a joyous moment? Do it, buddy. Just do it. Don't worry. You make an attempt, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will fill in the blanks. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will make it happen. And when you bring it outside of your little Dalet Amos, you bring it outside of your little wedding hall, you bring it outside of your little place, and you spread it out to the world, they will, that in energy, that love, that beauty will spread out to everyone and will lift them up. The schus of this couple, that what they accomplished without even trying, of just getting married, the simha that they brought to the world should be a simha that touches and affects and infects every single one of us. And in these very, very confusing and difficult times, we're intellectualizing like incredible. We're reasoning and rationalizing and coming up with all kinds of things. We should have the ability to feel a little bit. We should have the ability to uplift ourselves, to feel a little bit of simcha, to feel a little bit of joy, and to recognize you have to have a little bit of bitachon, a little bit of trust. You do what you got to do. You make your attempts, push beyond your boundaries. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will fix the rest of the problems. He'll take care of everything eventually in his time and in the way that he does it. But it will all be taken care of. You got to do your thing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will do his. Everybody should have a beautiful, amazing, wonderful, incredibly simchadik Shabbos. And in Mirza Hashem, I look forward to next Shabbos' message coming from Eretz Yisrael at Seinu HaKadesha. I'll be back in Mirza Hashem on Thursday night in Eretz Yisrael. And in Mirza Hashem, we'll have the schus to be able to make a Shabbos message next week from Modi'in. And then we get back to track on the Pirkei Avos, the Monday night Pirkei Avos, and then all the morning Pirkei Avos in Eretz Yisrael, and all the other shurim that I give during the week. We'll get back to a regular schedule in Mitzvah Hashem from the week after next. Okay, good Shabbos, everyone.